Hi, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert, and I've been helping clients for 36 years using Murray Bowen Family Systems approach to helping them with life problems, career problems, relationship problems. And this video is entitled, How Do I Deal with My Family's Allergy to Reality? Or Shared Secrets and Differences. Certainly those are very difficult for us to deal with because when there are shared secrets or things we cannot talk about or perspectives that we cannot share, the reality we have that we can't talk about in our family because the family sees it a particular way or a family member sees it in a particular way, and it would be way too much of a challenge for us to own our own reality about that. And we tend to back off, be afraid, we tend to be reactive, we don't like the anxiety it produces, they don't like the anxiety it produces, other family members, it causes frustration and difficulty within the family. But how do we self-differentiate or become authentic or mature if we see things differently than family members? How do we deal with that contrast? And is there a healthy way to deal with it? Is there, as I would consider, at least a successful way to deal with it? Or I can say the bottom line, is there a mature way to deal with it? Certainly there's lots of immature ways to deal with it. And I've talked with lots of couples and individuals who have taken the immature approaches, including myself, on a number of occasions throughout my life. So I know what many of those are from a first-hand experience. Coming from a very codependent background for me, not really liking me, not really thinking much of me, low self-esteem, shame issues, lack of self-differentiation, self-knowledge, lack of authenticity, let me try to be what everybody wants me to be. Having those kind of difficulties, it makes it difficult for me to own my own reality with family members and also with wider community, social community. I have done better over the last few decades, which has really helped tremendously. And also I've found most of the catastrophes that I thought it would cause by me owning my own reality never happened, or if they happened, were only temporary. And that eventually the system would come around to accept me as to who I am. This video also, I'm kind of talking about how to self-differentiate or differentiate away from the shared secrets in your family of origin. Meaning, again, we have this frame or this way of looking at it in our family. And if you disagree with that, you need to keep your mouth shut. You must not say anything about it. And it won't be accepted. There could be even negative consequences as a result of it. There was a client who had done some work with me and helping me with videos. And when I made a transition, she was kind enough to list all my videos for me and save them on YouTube because she thought they were valuable and wanted other people to watch them. And so I asked her, I said, well, how can I tell you thank you? Can I do a video for you? She gave me a topic, and this is the topic, and I wanted to share that with her. And I said I'd do a video on about any topic you'd ask, as long as I knew something about the topic. Fortunately, I knew something about the topic. And in asking me to do this, we take a look at what do you do when you no longer have alliances to keep secrets. In other words, you don't want to keep that alliance with the family, to keep certain secrets or keep a certain frame about the way things were. Everybody knew that Uncle so-and-so molested the sister. Everybody knows that, but we all act like and have the frame or the perspective that it never happened. And we don't talk about it and that it's resolved, or it just never happened in the first place. But yet everybody knows it did, the whole family, but we have a shared secret. And we all share this silence and all share this perspective that, oh, I think the sister was just histrionic at that time and was just making it up. Uncle Fred never really did do that. When you know from the sister that it happened, you know that it may have even happened to you, but you haven't shared that part of it. So you know Fred's certainly one who is inappropriate and what he did was wrong. How do we navigate becoming the skirt lifter? Because we're lifting the skirt or secret revealer in our family of origin. And when you're a skirt lifter for the family, that can be a pretty tough place to be in. And I think there are ways to prepare for that. There are ways to practice for that. There are ways to survive that. If you're going to be a skirt lifter, secret revealer, or to own your own reality up against your family's reality. As you can well imagine, the concept of shared secret is an oxymoron. It's a contradictory in terms. How can you have a secret that's shared? But actually, most secrets in the family are known by everyone. It's just cannot be discussed, talked. It's an undiscussable. And in business can be the same way. Businesses and executives and church organizations, companies have shared secrets that everybody knows, but we can't talk about it. They're undiscussable. And that's what keeps businesses from being profitable, from being healthy, churches from being profitable, healthy, effective, and then certainly families who are dysfunctional as a result of it. I find clients become more self-aware and more self-differentiated and more mature when they start to become more mature, start to become more self-aware. Then they start to ask, when and how do I share my perspective or not continue to lie about the secret or make the undiscussable discussable with the family and its narrative and what they think's going on, and how do I share what is undiscussable with my family? How do I share what I believe to be true without ripping the skirt all the way off the person rather than just lifting it up a bit? And let me share with you some of the secrets and some of the different perspectives that families members can have. These are just a dozen of them or so, but there are dozens and dozens and hundreds of secrets and hundreds of perspectives that families have that may not agree with us and how they see it, and events that occurred that they have a different take on it, or even a wrong take, dysfunctional take on it. So here's some of those issues of family denial. Mom's narcissism, dad's alcoholism, brother's abuse, family rage, and these are the undiscussables. We can't talk about any of these. Family's disrespect for boundaries, mom standing by dad when he was physically abusive, the way my parents treat my spouse might be another thing we can't talk about, and I'll have an example of that in just a moment. The reality that my sister was mean to my kids and my wife, my brother's crazy reality about him and how I and my spouse hate him and I've never loved him, mother never calling, never reaching out, never asking about my life, and favors other siblings with money, gifts, time, inheritance, but feels and believes and tells everyone that she deeply loves me and we're loved equally like all the rest of the kids. And I don't know how many times I've worked with couples and with individuals whose parents have, say, 3 kids. 2 of the kids get the inheritance, 1 kid doesn't. Because they go, well, they're struggling and they're not as successful as you are, so we're going to leave all the money to them and not to you. And they don't realize how that's a continuation of their bad parenting, their dysfunctional parenting. Now, it's their money. They can do whatever they want with it. That's clearly, whenever anybody says, hey, they can be as dysfunctional with their money as they want to. And we have to come to accept that. But it doesn't mean we think it's mature and right or just. Because it just continues their enabling of the under-functioning siblings, and then you are left out, and they say, but we all love you equally. Well, it just doesn't relate across the board. It would be another thing if parents would say, well, we're going to give it all to you equally, and then the parents come to you and say, hey, your brother and sister are really, really struggling. We know you're doing well. How do you feel about us maybe working out your third in some way? That's at least a fair, reasonable way to kind of maturely come at this. But it's their money. I understand. They can do whatever they want. We have to accept that. But nobody can talk about how, the other siblings will say, well, I'm just so glad we all got equal parts, in the inheritance. When you know good and well you didn't. But you can't say you didn't, because that's a family secret and that's not supposed to be talked about. Dads, I often find clients have, before they have come to see me, struggled with the guilt and shame of seeing things differently than their family of origin, or keeping secrets that they hate keeping. They have made failed attempts to break the secret bonding with the family. They have also dropped the bomb on families at inopportune times, meaning they've gotten so reactive or so upset they'll just blurt out a secret or some negative thing to everyone because they're just so frustrated. They have become the outcast and scapegoats of the family because of threatening the family with revealing or trying to reveal secrets. And of course, that can be very costly for them and has been over the years. I don't think they were able to have at their access and have the awareness of systems and how they work, so that they can surgically and be able to more navigate this map of family of origin dynamics, so they might be able to grow themselves up within the family without blowing it all the way up. It can be very difficult, and families can be very frustrating and very difficult to work with. They've also tried to be authentic with their family while not understanding how the family functions. They do not anticipate others' reactions. They did not know where they are in processing the secret themselves. Because if we still have the secret and we have all kinds of reactive feelings about it, that's probably not the best way to share the secret. When I'm in the middle of processing my own feelings about it, I can be conflicted, I can be angry, I can be hurt, I can have all those things. That's not the way to reveal family secrets or your own perspective if you're trying to help change yourself within the family. Because oftentimes if you have those conflicted feelings, you will make attempts to change the family, and they'll feel it and sense it within the emotional field, or within the vibes, as you say. They will feel it and know that, and then cannot accept your view of reality, and they'll have to reject you too. And also, if I'm trying to share my own perspective or my own view of the secret, or the secret itself, because I don't want to just carry it and deny it all my life, if I haven't resolved those feelings about it, I'm going to be very reactive. And that will also create reactivity within the family as well. The good thing about family systems is that if you can be calm, others can tend to be and will tend to be calmer. If you are reactive, others will tend to be reactive and more reacting in a highly charged way. So how you come at it is very important. Not from a codependent standpoint, but from an authentic, mature, self-differentiated standpoint. Well, what do I do about breaking the shared secret bond we have with our family? What do we do to share our authentic experience and reality with our family? Resolve the secret for yourself first. Deal with your own triggers, shame, your own guilt, your own anger, your own hurt, your own frustration, your own resentments. Deal with those first before you start to share all that within the family, or try to get them to be accepting of your reality. First, you must be authentic and not reactive. That's the first step. Never share your perspective or awareness or speak openly about a secret with the intent of changing your family. They will pick up on this, as I have said. They're very finely tuned and highly tuned, finely tuned to that, just like a piano. They know when someone's sharing it to either shame or hurt them. We want to come as neutral as possible about these secrets and about my own perspective. Plan and anticipate the moves and resistance of your family. Don't just plan for, well, it's all going to go well, or I don't care how they react. Then we're not strategic enough. Going, well, I shouldn't worry about what they think. I'm just going to say whatever I want to think. Well, that's not very strategic. It's not, you don't understand the lay of the land. And so you're most likely to trip over things, to get reactive in ways you didn't anticipate, and then it becomes more of a problem. Be prepared for the fallout. And remember, fallout is often temporary. Fortify your inner self, such as watching, I have a video entitled Building Up Your Ability to Go Without Love or Approval. And you can find that on Jerry Wise Relationship Systems channel on YouTube. Remember, talking about secrets or a different way of seeing things from the way your family of origin sees things will trigger shame and guilt in dysfunctional families. And it will trigger that within them. And in you, if you don't deal with that first. We know we may be triggering their shame or guilt, but we can also manage that, handle that, let them just feel whatever they're going to feel, but also know, you don't have to be threatened by me. You may feel shamed, but I'm not here to threaten you. I just don't want to keep this secret anymore. And so I want to share that. And I'm going to share what I believe to be true. But it's not for the purpose of shaming and guilting everybody in the family. Often I say begin on the edges. Don't start with the family high holiday or Thanksgiving or Christmas or other religious holiday celebration dinners or when families getting together. Don't start there. Begin individually or one-on-one and not confront the family as a whole. I think I've seen people do that before too, or they'll share with their mother some secret they've always, or some different perspective they've already seen. Mom, I've always felt you were wrong about not calling the police when Uncle Bob molested me. Don't do that right before a Thanksgiving meal. Right while mom's cooking and trying to do everything. It's unwise and not strategic. There are other ways to do that. If you want her to be a total mess, then do it then. If you want, but then we're wanting to punish and we're wanting to, and then there's other motives involved, and that's what we want to get away from. We want to get away from those other motives, which means unresolved feelings in me. Begin less direct, less confrontational or aggressive. Start to show your cards like using phrases like, I don't really see it that way. I had a different experience than you. I think it was much more complicated than that. It seems like there are some missing facts. You know the family had good points, but we had plenty of problems too. Then as people begin to question you, you have an opening to share how you saw or see it, and you can expand on those statements. All of these statements that I just mentioned are self-differentiating while not shattering the front door. It's like going in the back door. Also, I may not need to confront somebody about the secret. When mom shares, well, that vicious lie about Uncle Bob and him molesting someone, that was all just baloney. Well, Mom, I see that differently. I think it was more complicated than that. I would not agree with that description. I don't have to share with her exactly what my perspective is. I can just say, I am different. And she probably already knows that. She probably already knows there are some family members that don't hold to that truth. I'm just saying I don't. But I'm not needing to make a big point of it. Let me tell you exactly what I believe what happened. there again, I'm back to trying to change mom, change the family, change the childhood. You're wasting your time. But self-differentiating, saying, well, that's not how I saw it, or that's not what I believe, we can leave it at that, and I'm self-differentiating. And it generally tends to be more tolerable, rather than I'm just going to blow you out of the water. Focus on practicing, affirming, and building self-confidence of your reality and your truth about your family. When you share secrets from a place of neutrality, not reactivity, be matter of fact, not over serious. Work on staying calm. If I'm worked up, the system will get worked up in response and in reactivity, as I've shared before. Allow your family to distance from you and to feel threatened by you while they absorb the new you. Give them some breathing space, that it's okay that this is the new you, and they may feel touchy about that. Let them distance. Let them feel threatened or feel shamed or guilt for a little while, and stay calm, stay neutral. Hey, I'm still here, and everything's going to be fine. However, and I do like the biblical passage of Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. And that's really what I'm talking about, the whole thing, and that's what family systems teaching is, speaking the truth. You want to speak your truth in love. You don't have to speak it in reactivity, because that's going to only hurt you and them too. When sharing family secrets or breaking the rule of shared secrets, Dr. Ronald Cohen says, balance caution with candor. He is a Bowen family systems expert as well, and I would advise you reading his article on secrets online, and you can look under his name, and I think you'll find information on that. I also believe it's more helpful to start sharing your truth and your reality in context. For example, Jerry, aren't you glad you had a wonderful childhood? Well, yes, and I would respond, in many ways it was, but Dad's alcoholism and abuse was a big part of my childhood too. Your dad was not an alcoholic, and you shouldn't talk about your dead father that way. That is just disrespectful, and I know your dad loved you, is what you would many times get. Well, Mom, it's not disrespectful to him or anyone that I admit he was an alcoholic and was abusive at times. And that was a part of my childhood as well. I realize you don't agree, or I realize you see it differently. That's okay, Mom. We can agree. We can disagree. I understand. When we let the cat out of the bag, or when we start to share ourselves as an authentic self and our authentic reality with no secrets and no, they can't know how I really feel, be confident, kind, neutral, self-affirming, and allow others to maintain their denial if they choose. Don't give your power away. Keep your power for yourself. Hold on to your reality and how you see it and saw it. No longer will denial be your way of seeing things. You will experience less guilt and less shame. A good book to read is Family Secrets, The Path to Self-Acceptance and Reunion by John Bradshaw. That's another good work for secrets. We must hold to the belief revealing a toxic or self-denying secret is not a betrayal or disloyalty or purposefully hurtful. That's what often families will send as a message as to why you shouldn't share those secrets. Believe instead, I love myself and my family enough not to keep this secret or their way of seeing things, that it's healthier for me and maybe for them in the long run, who knows, but at least for me to not see it the way they see things. Breaking family secrets does not cause illness, death, or magically cause bad things to happen to family members. Well, if you reveal that secret, Mom will have a heart attack. If you reveal that secret, all kinds of bad things will happen to our whole family. Those are myths, often 99% of the time not true. Very rare that anything like that would happen. Resist the family rule. Don't tell anyone our business. Revealing issues does not shame the family in the broader community. It may trigger the family's inner shame, but that shame has been there probably for generations. The broader community doesn't give a hoot about your family and doesn't give a hoot about you. They've got their own family, their own lives they have to live. We often have a grandiosity where we think everybody's worrying about us. Nobody's worrying about you. They're living their own life any more than you worry about everybody in your neighborhood. You probably don't. You don't worry about everybody in your neighborhood's family. You've got to get on with your life. Breaking family rules is a large part of growing up and maturing and becoming more self-differentiated. We are not breaking family rules with any malice. And what we need to do is rehearse. With trusted others or a coach or a therapist you can feel confident in to help you practice what you're going to say and practice your responses. Don't share, reveal family secrets during a notable event, as I've mentioned, like a holiday, weddings, funerals, anniversaries. This will derail the secret revealing and attach it to an anniversary. Share your truths or your reality during a normal course of interaction with the family of origin. So what do we do when family members deny our reality? What responses can we give to them? And when they deny our own awareness? Here are some statements of reality that are reality-denying statements from a mother to an adult son. They had had a confrontation, and actually a physical confrontation with with his mother, and his mother was inappropriate, and she's denying that any of that happened. Son, your skewed, exaggerated version of events is disturbing, to say the least. Whenever we share our reality, oftentimes there's resistance from the more denying or dysfunctional family members, and then we can respond at different levels depending upon how open we want to be and how much information we want to share. All of these levels are self-differentiation. They're just at different levels. One would be, well, Mom, I see it differently from you. And just respond simply, I see it differently. Level 2 would be maybe wanting to share more or feeling more confident in yourself or in your interaction with his mother. My version of events is the one I remember and experienced. I'm sure it's difficult to have me share my experience of them. And then number 3, maybe a more intense or a deeper sharing of, well, my view of things, Mom, has been disturbing for you and for the family for years. But I'm finally not going to change. We will have to agree to disagree. And another response that his mother made was, I'm deeply saddened and heartbroken by what you see as reality, which, by the way, did not happen and I didn't do. I did not yell, as you said. I didn't threaten you in front of the kids, as you said. He can respond, I'm sorry, we do not share the same facts. We will just have to agree to disagree. I don't think you would appreciate me trying to convince you about what happened. Well, if you're honest with yourself, Mom says, you will see my version of what happened is really what happened. My honesty is what brings me to my version of events, Mom. Even if I had done those things, which I didn't, I could understand why I might, because you had shunned me for months. Shunning you for months is no excuse for abuse, rejection, or even violence. Hopefully someday we can talk about what truly happened. Please don't accuse me of X and Y and Z. That's all just rubbish. Well, you may feel my version of what happened was rubbish, or is rubbish, but it doesn't change what happened. Or I think we'll just have to agree to disagree. Obviously, I love you and have always loved you, and I would never do what you have said I did. I do not share the same view of love as you, Mom. You may in fact love me, but that doesn't change what happened. You never lived in my shoes or knew what I went through. I will never be able to live in anyone else's shoes, Mom, only my own. You may have gone through a lot with Dad, who is abusive to you and to us kids, but this does not justify your behavior 2 months ago. Son, I don't know why a prayer card I sent to you is so offensive to you. The card was, Mom, the card was only filled with religious words. I would prefer a relationship with you and not your faith. You are free to have your faith, but I have asked you not to send cards and letters with only religious content. I'm sure you would not appreciate me sending you a Muslim content card or a Buddhist content card or an atheist content card only, and just signing love your son. I'm sure, Mom, you wouldn't appreciate that. Life is too short, and I needed to say these things before I die or become demented. I will always love you, and I forgive you for all the pain you've caused me, Mom says. I hope you feel better sharing these things. I disagree with many of the things you have shared. I see things quite differently than you do. You may experience pain and probably have for many years. I do not believe I'm the creator, the author, or cause of that pain, Mom. Another example in which there can be things happening that are not to be talked about. Mom would hold up the meal until all of her kids were there, except she does not do that for my husband, Mom said. Mom says, I've never treated your husband disrespectfully. I was just busy and felt we needed to eat. When actually at every dinner, she doesn't wait on Janet's husband, but she'll wait on all the other siblings' husbands before they start eating, but not Janet's. Mom, that is not how I see it. You would never do that for any of the kids in the family or their spouses. Don't ever do that again regarding my husband. Or you may not have noticed that your behavior changes when it involves John, my husband, Janet says, and the family meals. But I noticed I'm not happy. But I noticed and I am not happy. You may have been busy. You may have felt we needed to eat. However, I request that you treat all spouses equally. Well, I didn't know it was so important to you or that you would be so touchy about it. My husband is important to me, and I do not feel touchy. I believe what happened was out of the ordinary for our family, and yes, it does bother me. I would ask for family meals. We then choose not to wait on anyone's spouse to eat, or we'll wait on everyone's spouse to eat. This is not about me feeling ouchy about it. It's only about fairness and respect. I hope I can count on your support, Mom. I've given you some examples and responses. I work with people all the time to practice their responses and practice self-differentiation in real life situations. If you need help learning how to share your truth and your reality with your family, if you want help in breaking the shared secrets, and those shared secrets you've had for many years with them, please contact me. You can contact me at 317-919-6264 in the U.S. or at my email address, jerrywise5@gmail.com. I hope you'll check out my new website, jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com. And I hope you'll join my YouTube channel and subscribe so that whenever I do a new video, you'll be for sure notified. I appreciate you watching today, and have a great day.
Hi everybody, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach. And this video is entitled, Stop Using Normal Rules for abnormal relationships. Have you ever heard the phrase tough love? Why do we call it tough love? Because it falls outside of the normal rules of what we expect normal loving to be. And we have to put that tough on the front of it to identify it. But tough love can be a very good thing. But it's implying that if you use regular love, that's not helpful, or that's not a rule that's going to apply in this situation very well. Many times it feels like the opposite of love when we give tough love. I want to thank you for joining me today, and thanks for watching this video. When relating to others around us, we tend to start with empathy and adapting within the relationship. What if the other person or persons don't play by the same rules? They may begin with, how can I manipulate you? How can I get my dependency needs met? How can I be superior to you? Etc. And they play by other rules than our more empathetic and being adaptive kind of way we do in relationships. And the way we would want to be in more healthy, mature, peer, mutual relationships. We begin, we function, and we process relationships with all of the relationship rules we have been taught and we have been imprinted with from our family, from society, from religion, from any number of groups of tribes and groups we are a part of. Some rules are good, some rules are bad, some are irrelevant, and some don't even apply. And then, as I'm going to be talking later, many of those rules don't come with instructions. They just come with the rule. Secondly, unhealthy people use normal relationship rules as leverage against us and against the reasonable and empathetic friend or spouse or family member. And oftentimes in unhealthy relationships, the person who is the least mature will want the other person to follow those rules carefully, but they don't have to follow them themselves. The needy, the toxic, and the immature people will use normal rules against us, and they hope that we will be caring, forgiving, overly worried about them, always thinking to love our neighbor, and that we'll always be nice and never be troublesome, etc., etc. And they are counting on that, which I think can cause us a lot of problems. And again, I want to say regarding those rules may not be bad rules. They just don't apply in all relationships. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Often relationships are troubled, as I've said, by a double standard. We are told we need to keep our values or keep to the normal rules, but the other person won't or will act like it doesn't matter. And that's a part of this mystification process. Mystification is a good word for toxic relationships when mystification occurs. Let me give you an example. Thank you for letting me borrow your car. A friend may tell you, I know the engine or the oil light and engine light came on, but I assume it was just a sensor, and I kept driving it thinking I will let you take care of the car when I bring it back. I'm sorry you have to replace the engine now. I grew up never being allowed to fix a car or learn how to take care of a car. But thanks for letting me borrow the car. What rules do they expect you to follow, and what rules of relationships are they following? And they are assuming you should follow the rule that we should always be understanding, that we should always be forgiving, that we should never be angry, and we should accept their choices, learned helplessness, behavioral choices, and their limitations. Well, I don't have to follow all of those rules. And again, if you notice, the friend who borrowed the car is not offering to pay for the car, not taking any responsibility for their choices when the light and the oil light came on. Many of us would probably stop the car at some point, call the owner, call me, whoever, if I have it, and say, what would you like me to do? Because I don't want to injure your car. I don't want to harm it. I don't want there to be a problem. And this person didn't do it. They just took their own immature assumptions and then bring it to you, go, well, sorry, you have to replace the engine. It's your car. And again, that's kind of a double standard too. Well, it's your car now, but you were borrowing it and it was under your control when you were driving it. And the lights and sensors were clearly on and you did nothing about it, nor did you contact me about it. We don't want to fall for the double standard. Here's an example of a double standard. Well, I'm just your dad and I'm old, so I will continue to be intrusive and critical of your life. That's just what parents do. And I also know that dad would never allow me to criticize him or be intrusive with my opinions or beliefs with him. That would never be acceptable. He's able to do that, but I should better not. Double standard. And then I want to learn option C, which is, well, Dad, I see that you're either unwilling or unable to change by what you just said. Because parents just don't change. They just keep doing that. You may find me visiting less often and telling you fewer things about my life. Not because I would not like to include you or share them with you, but because of your way of thinking and relating to me, it's difficult for me to tolerate that. I'm sorry, Dad. I love you. Then I'm playing by his rules and my rules. My rules are, you don't get to do that or disrespect me. And if you're just saying, well, that's just the way I am, then I'll take that as exactly what you mean. It's just the way you are. Well, then I'm going to have to change. And that change may be, we may not be as close. If you're just going to go, it's just the way I am, meaning I'm not going to change for you or anybody else. Well, okay, you don't have to, but that may impact my relationship with you. We feel the pull to love all people, respect all people. But not everyone is very lovable nor respectable. I hope you've found that to be true as you grow up and as you get older. In my elderly old age, which I say in tongue-in-cheek, but I've come to, some people are not very lovable. Some people are not very respectable. But my training would love all people. But disordered and unhealthy or very immature, toxic people in our lives, I want to love in a special way by letting them hit bottom, not by giving them toxic empathy or toxic sympathy or toxic, or if that's a redundancy, enabling. I don't want to enable the negative sides of themselves. And if I just enable and just am overly sympathetic, then there are no consequences for their bad behavior. They don't have to change. I just have to put up with it. Well, I'm not sure I have to do that to be loving. Because of what you're creating, I don't have to be loving in that way. And I can be loving in a different way. I will let the universe deal with you. Whatever the universe deals out, but probably it's going to impact our relationship. And I may not be talking to you, or feeling as though I owe you anything. I am not required to love you in a way that you don't love me. Another rule, respect all people. But toxic people need a special respect to maybe get some insight into their own behavior, or their beliefs, or their attitudes. And I may respect them by avoiding them and limit their effect and involvement in my life. They may be seen as unhealthy cells in my relationship body. And there are people that are unhealthy cells in the body society and in the body of the family. Unhealthy or cancerous cells are invasive. They play by double standards, and they fuse with the healthy parts of me. But those healthy parts of me will end up becoming toxic or cancerous or sick if I continue that. I like Edwin Friedman's discussion about virology. You might want to find some of his videos online. They were made a while back, but they were really good in terms of describing how unhealthy people are like unhealthy cells. And if we treat them as an equivalent healthy cell, we're going to get sick and it's going to cause problems. I want to respect them by avoiding them. I want to respect their right not to get help. They can choose not to get help. They can choose not to change. And I choose to be neither reactive nor naive about them. And I see that boundary-needing relationships, boundary-needing relationships, as ones that I need to set strong boundaries which respect me and may model for them how to respect someone. Because they obviously haven't learned it, don't want to learn it, have no interest in it, and see no need for it. Well, that's fine. I'm going to respect them by having boundaries. And then I'm not pushing them away. They decide whether they're going to push me away. Because boundaries don't push people away. People get pushed away by not respecting your boundaries. They're pushing you away, not the other way. Boundaries do not push away people. It sets the relationship for a healthy foundation, is what they do. They're not to push someone away. But if someone doesn't respect your boundaries, then they're going to feel pushed away. But it's actually a myth. All societal rules, family rules, personal internalized rules, religious rules need to come with instructions and expectations. And many times they don't. And so we just internalize the rules and apply them across the board equally. That will cause us some problems. Because everyone we're dealing with, working with, relating to, are not the same and are not equal. If I apply caring for or helping my sister and being supportive, maybe helping her financially or something in that way, that's different than caring for a cousin who is alcoholic or addict and is completely dying an inch at a time, and me helping him in the same way I would help my sister. The one help would be healthy. To help him in that way would be enabling and very unhealthy and not loving. How about the rule, one should never lie? Do you believe we should never lie? While I think that's an absolute and great rule, an absolute great guideline, let me give you an example. When I was doing marital and family therapy with folks, and someone would find out that Mary might be seeing me, she and her husband or whatever, and then someone asked me, "What, do you know Mary Smith?" And I knew she was a client, and I would say, "I have no idea who that is. Am I telling a lie?" "Yeah, I think I am." "Well, we should never tell a lie. So I should say, yes, I know Mary. Was she a client of yours?" "Oh, well, I really can't discuss that." Even by implying I know her and saying I can't discuss that, I've already answered the question. She is. Because that's what they're going to assume. I don't want them to even assume that. So lying is a better road in that instance. And it's better to lie because I have a higher goal of maintaining her confidentiality. And that's more important than the lying rule. So not many rules need to come with instructions about how we use them. Well, let's say, if someone, and I come up from a Christian background, a religious background, if someone hurts you, you should turn the other cheek, says the Bible. Yes, it does have that rule in there that we should turn the other cheek. So if a wife is assaulted by her husband, should she just turn the other cheek? Is that what that means and what that rule and guideline means? I think we might have some problems with that we should not just turn the other cheek. That's a real problem. Why would anyone go no contact with their family? Family is all we have. That's another rule that a lot of people live by. Well, I just can't go no contact with my family because then who would I have? And, how would my family feel? And they would be hurt. And I wouldn't be able to attend the Christmas and holiday gatherings where people are crazy and difficult. And I don't know if I could live without that. Well, there may be times we should go and it would be appropriate to go no contact. And there are other times when it may not be appropriate to go no contact. So that rule can vary with the family and the personal experience the person has. Often we acquire our values, beliefs, rules from our family of origin. These are our borrowed convictions, beliefs, values, without choosing these values for ourselves. For example, if you have a value that I really believe I should love everyone, well, what is your conviction about loving everyone? How do you see that? And in what way? Have you thought further than just the rule itself? Are there times when it might not be healthy to love everyone in the same way? Some of those rules that we've borrowed or we've taken in, love everybody because we are all God's creatures. Well, in my mind, we are all God's creatures, or the universe has produced us. We are all equal in that way. We are human beings. All people are human beings. I do understand that. But not all people are the same human beings. And how and in what ways do we love everyone? Is there ever a time we should not love someone? There may be some historical examples where it would be very immature to love someone who is so evil or so toxic, who is mean, or who might be evil. And I like Scott Peck's books, where he's a psychiatrist that deals with the issue of evil. And do you believe there's evil out there? And should evil be loved just as equally as non-evil? Expect a friend or family to hurt or disrespect you at some point. Okay, I may have learned that from family. Well, how much disrespect? Disrespect how far? And hurt, how much is acceptable for hurt? Does that mean I should live in continued hurt and disrespect for the next 25 years? Because I just should expect that a family or friends going to disrespect me or hurt me. Well, okay, I understand that could happen, but how far is too far? Rather than just expecting it. And I've already talked about if someone hurts you, turn the other cheek, to the point of self-injury. When is it enabling when we do that? Always protect your integrity and the integrity of others. Is it always good to protect everybody's integrity? What about family secrets? An uncle is being sexually inappropriate with a brother or sister or a cousin or whatever. And everybody protects his integrity and protects the integrity of others. And we don't want the victim to feel ashamed, so we just won't talk about it and we will act as though it never existed. Now we have a secret. Is that really what we should do to protect everybody's integrity? That's not how you protect people's integrity. Remember, life is not fair and life does not grant you everything. So we all have to settle. Well, how much should I settle for? When should I settle? With what kinds of relationships should I settle? What should I accept and what should I not accept? So again, I understand life's not fair. And I understand that in some ways I'll have to settle and accept my own limitations or what is. But how much and when and what kind of relationships and all those questions that come in. Here's another good one. Never judge anyone, so you won't be judged. What does judging mean? Making an evaluation? Or coming to believe how you see things? Or is it a self-righteous opinion about someone? And I tend to think judging tends to be more that self-righteous opinion about someone. So that means we shouldn't have judges or doctors or psychiatrists or therapists or anybody who makes judgments. We shouldn't judge anyone. Well, so no spouse should evaluate their spouse or understand or learn more about their spouse. And I've had people say, no one should ever call anyone a narcissist because they're not a psychiatrist. Okay, I understand there can be danger in labeling or psychologizing or psychiatrizing, relationships. But what about the common sense if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, looks like a duck? Maybe it's a duck? And I don't have to be a psychiatrist to know that? I understand I'm not making a legal DSM diagnosis of this person, but boy, it has all the flavors of it. And can we come to our own conclusions as useful and avoiding self-righteous opinions and judge in an appropriate way? Because I think we'll need to and we have to. Here's a classic one. Honor your father and your mother. And that gets preached as a pretty solid law many times. Even if they are toxic, mean, manipulative, even evil, we should just honor them? Well, how are we going to do that? And is that what that verse means? I think there were some expectations that parents had expectations too in honoring their children. Not just honor your father and your mother and it's a one-way street. It's a two-way street. And so I have a lot of people who say, well, I can't go tell my mother that I think she's been really mean to me and the decisions she has made, because that wouldn't be honoring her. So she can be mean and you shouldn't judge her and you should honor her. Well, now you're using normal relationship rules for abnormal relationships. And that's going to get us into trouble and cause some real problems. Here are some new rules I would advise for everyone. Take what you can use and leave the rest. If you don't agree, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. Just take what you can use. And if it's helpful, do that. Never trust a narcissist. I don't think it's a good idea. If parents don't love and respect you, you owe them nothing. If parents love and respect you, you still owe them nothing. We don't owe anyone a relationship, no matter whether there's blood ties or not, or DNA that's similar. We don't owe anyone a relationship. And if we grew up as a dependent child with these parents, that doesn't mean we owe them anything. That's what parents do, is raise their children. Kids don't have to pay back being born, raised, provided for, sent to college, taken to the doctor, given an allowance, or other ways parents sacrifice for them. We can certainly be grateful, feel loved or supported, and cared for by parents, but not owing them. The owing is where it gets unhealthy and problematic. If a person does not respect me, I can behave respectfully, but that does not mean I must respect you or take abuse or even be around you. I owe no one a relationship, whether sibling or parents or friends or other church members or other people in your synagogue or in your mosque. We don't owe someone a relationship. Another rule, I think, could be a more new rule of health. If they hurt or betray you badly once, they will again in the future without inner core work. and change. So, is it possible someone can have an affair and change? Yes, I believe that's possible. But they have to do that inner work to do that. If they just come back and say, oh, I'm so sorry, and I'll never do that again because now I got caught and I'll never do that again. I also see how bad it was. I have greater empathy now, and I'm sorry it just was so devastating. I'm not sure that's enough to be able to trust them fully. I think they really need to do their work for them to be trustworthy. Not everyone deserves a second or even a third chance. We do not owe everyone a second or third chance. It depends. And so I don't have to give someone a second chance if I don't want to. And it's not owed to them. Well, haven't you made mistakes, Jerry? I certainly have. And there have been situations in which I didn't get a second chance. And that's a part of life. That's a part of how the universe works. And it's not fun to mess up and then not get a second chance. Well, the same could be true for someone else in my life. I do give people second chances and things like that, but it's not owed. As adults, families are comprised not of fantasy relationships, but adult-to-adult relationships is what families should be comprised of. As an adult, I require all others to treat me as an adult feeling person. I'm no longer a child. And so I keep that rule very solidly in my head. And I try to apply it without reactivity. I apply it calmly, not reactively. As an adult, there is no one whom I owe respect, love, and generosity. And that includes all relationships. Friends, family, kids, spouse, in-laws, and anyone else. I don't owe someone respect, love, and generosity, even my children, if their behavior is such that it's problematic. Now, as children, I do need to support them, nurture them, love them, get them the help they need, all of those things, which I would do as a parent. When they become an adult, I'm not parent anymore. Parenting ends at 18 or whatever. You're now an adult. We're equal in this universe. I just happen to be older, but we're equal. We're both adults. And I can't put you in the corner anymore. And certainly I would not talk about neglect of children as something that would be worthy of them. But again, I think there are kids sometimes that feel entitled to that no matter what they do. And I don't like that rule. You should have all that no matter what you do, because that's not the way the universe works. There is no one I owe to listen to them. If I'm married, then I have agreed to a shared life. So listening is an important part of that shared life. But it must be mutual. You don't have to be a certain way or do something because they believe it is your role. Well, you're my wife, you have to listen to me. Well, you're my husband, you have to listen to me. Well, not if you're not doing it in an adult fashion and a respectful fashion that includes me. And if you have problems like that, then that's when you need to get some help for the couple. I want to remind you to be careful about the following normal rules with unhealthy, toxic, and negative relationships. They will use these rules against you. Remember, those who are unhealthy will try to shame us by not following those normal rules. When they're not following them at all, they'll shame us or guilt us that we're not following them. Another rule I think of here at the end, if someone asks you a question about your life, polite society and good rules of behavior means you should answer. No. I have every right to know the context or the reason for the question. My rule is this. If I'm asking someone a personal question, I preface it with why I'm asking. And many people will ask personal questions and don't preface it with why they're asking. You don't know why they're asking. If my friend Andy asks me about my taxes, because I tend to get late on doing my taxes each year, it's quite different than when my mother was asking about how I was doing on my taxes. Andy is concerned and supportive. Mom tended to be more anxious and shamed and fearful and upset my life was not in order. Mom is asking for herself. Andy is asking for me. Same question, different context. I think I'll call it a day today. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. I know I went a little long today. There are 3 workshops, I think, or maybe 4 workshops on the website if you want to go there for rent or purchase. I have another workshop that's going to be coming up, and I'll be getting that information out. If you join this channel, subscribe, like, click the bell so you get the newest videos. Again, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day, and be wise.
Hi everyone, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm a life and relationship coach, and I have been helping people with self-differentiation and recovery for some 45 years or so. And this video is entitled Systems Anxiety and Narcissists. This video is to help those who are in a relationship with a narcissist, or for those who are recovering from being in a relationship with a narcissist. I've been sharing several videos on my channel about systems anxiety, which I think is such an important topic, and I would recommend you watch the video Calmness is Everything, which is a longer video of mine that was commissioned by someone for me to make. And it's a very good video talking about systems anxiety and how important calmness is. This is another video, and I want to talk again about how important being calm, what the recovery benefits are for working towards that, particularly if you're dealing with narcissists. Often, many times, people want a quick fix and a simple three steps to being free from the trouble of being in a relationship with a narcissist, or 3 steps to feel better and things will just go great. And I wanted that as well. I remember years ago, that's something I was looking for too. And I would read hundreds, if not thousands, of self-help books. I remember donating about 1,000 books to a seminary that I attended and a graduate school, because I had read the books. And again, most of them were linear, individualistic, cause and effect type of self-help books. And very few of them, if any, had any notions about functioning, systems anxiety, having a systems approach, having a family systems approach, which I found greatly helpful in my own recovery. And so I understand how I just, tell me what I should do so that it will be better. That's kind of a quick fix question. When someone said, just tell me what to do. Well, because it's not just about telling you what to do. It's how you are functioning in this puzzle, how you're functioning in the system with a, with a narcissist, how you're functioning in the system with the family of origin within you, how you function in your relationships. So it's not a simple answer of just do this or just do that. There are some things that are helpful. If somebody says, how do I avoid jumping out of this plane without a parachute? Don't jump out of the plane. That's a very quick fix, cause and effect, simple solution to that. But when you talk about relationships, and when you talk about our inner functioning, it's often not just don't jump out of the plane. There's much more going on than that. And the more pieces we take in, the more we understand about the system, the more we will be able to function with better direction. We'll be able to formulate the problems better, and then also formulate the solutions better, rather than just recycling our same old patterns over and over again. And I see the way out as a more long-term, courageous, patient, and less anxious way of recovery, of understanding the system and our functioning, strategizing changes, and strategizing the change, and implementing and practicing what we know strategically and tactically, based on our understanding of the system. Well, we have to learn about the system first
so that we know how to function in it. Because if you use a cause and effect, for example, a cause and effect solution to a problem, it may tell you to turn left. However, if you use a systems understanding, it may then advise you or show you to turn right, then turn left. But if you just turn left, you're probably going to fall back into the old pattern again eventually. And so it may say turn right, then turn left. And so I think taking in more information is what's important. And affects how we, how we understand relationships. Just like if someone walks by you, and they're using a cane to get by you and step on your foot and don't even look back and keep on walking, you then feel angry or upset or irritated that someone just stepped on your foot and just kept on walking. Based on what you know, that's how you respond. And in fact, you may want to go punch the guy. We don't, but I'm saying, we feel irritated. Then we discover when the guy goes up and does whatever he's doing, then comes back, he's blind. He doesn't even know what he's stepping on. He doesn't even see where he's going. Adding that to the mix, because now I have a bigger understanding of what just happened, my feelings change. My thoughts change. A lot of things change in terms of how I understand this problem and what solution I wouldn't go and confront him. I wouldn't go punch him. You see how we would change with more information? And so we change with more information in the system. And that's what I've determined to try to help people to change by giving them more information about the system. Firstly, if we have a narcissistic parent or family member or family or friends, or we're in a relationship with a narcissist relationship is a high anxiety endeavor. It is a very high anxiety endeavor. Often, high anxiety is the norm in these relationships. Both acute anxiety and chronic anxiety, or unconscious intergenerational anxiety. And often both of these are at DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 4, whatever the numbers are for DEFCON, in terms of when we start a nuclear strike. And often they're so very high. And let me describe, acute anxiety is a threat that is something that triggers my fight or flight process or response in a conscious way. Chronic anxiety is the emotional field that includes intergenerational chronic anxiety, which is often unconscious, but it is also a fight or flight process. And we tap into the supply of chronic anxiety that we held in the family superself. The family superself holds this chronic anxiety. And it's the intergenerational inherited anxiety and functioning. And if you've got both chronic and acute anxiety being triggered at very high levels, and in a narcissistic relationship, they often are, high levels frequently, often, except when there's maybe love bombing going on or some other type of soothing, or maybe you have the toxic positive narcissistic behavior where they just want everything to be positive and good and great. But again, they are the thermometer for how the relationship should be. Narcissistic relationships require us to be in acute anxiety, and that our chronic family of origin anxiety is constantly triggered. Why is that? Because being in a relationship with a narcissist, parent, friend, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, they are unpredictable relationships. They're overreactive. They're hypersensitive relationships. Often the narcissist will take everything personally. They don't like to share influence with other people. The non-empathy is crazy making when they do not demonstrate empathy. There's often lots of blaming, and they don't take responsibility for their own behaviors and own choices. And if you have and there are many other traits also, but at least if you have all of these all require us to be in a state of anxiety and triggers our limbic system to be reactive, just almost daily, hourly, And so in a relationship, with a narcissist, high anxiety is easily triggered. And the last thing a narcissist wants is for you to stay calm and for you to be thinking. That's the last thing a narcissist wants. And it messes up the whole narcissistic relationship. They thrive as a part of their narcissistic supply on you being highly anxious. The anxiousness and the reactivity of others is a part of their supply. And it's also a way they control as well. Because if you're always doing that list of things I was telling you about, manipulation, lying, if you're always doing those things, it keeps everybody's anxiety way up on high on a 10 scale. And while they're just floating along with non-empathy and not caring. And so they can think things through pretty easily. We're discombobulated because of the anxiety. Narcissists want to shed their shame and their anxiety onto others. Higher anxiety triggers acute and chronic anxiety. If you don't believe me, try staying calm and thoughtful in the presence of a narcissist. I've talked to many narcissists. It is quite a challenge to stay calm, non-reactive, and thoughtful when interacting with a narcissist, even on a professional basis, because they keep throwing, as we call, poop in the game, though we use other words. They keep throwing poop in the game with their lack of empathy, their lack of insight, their entitlement, their grandiosity, all those things. And it takes normal people or normal neurotic people, that's what I mean, normal us, we're just normal neurotic, and it keeps our anxiety way up high because of their behaviors and how their personality operates. While chronic and acute anxiety are a part of any relationship, for the narcissistic relationship, these need to be highly charged and are highly charged often. Why is it that the narcissist would not want you to be calm and thoughtful? Because calm and thoughtful is harder to control. Anxious and reactive is much easier for the narcissist to control. We become over-focused on our anxiety and our intensity and over-focused on managing the narcissist that there's little left for the self. So we're always in a tense or anxious state. We're always worried about what can we do to change them, and we get lost in the whole process, and so our functioning gets lost. Let's take, for example, you're in a narcissistic marriage. You have a narcissistic partner or spouse. Someone hits your car. It's not your fault. You have acute anxiety. You might feel nervous, angry, fearful. You might be fearful about how the narcissist is going to respond, your spouse's response. There's paperwork you're going to have to do, repairs you're going to have to do. You have the adrenaline response because you've been hit in a car, and you may have PTSD or anxiety disorders that are much more conscious and aware. Then we have the more unconscious anxiety, which is the deeper anxiety from way back here in the limbic system. It gets fired or triggered, and we feel like a child with the narcissist spouse. We may feel worthless. We may feel shame. These are systems feelings as in terms of how we have been functioning. We may feel helpless. Or I must play the one down role. Or I'm always in trouble role. Or I'm a mess up, which isn't one of those old roles. And those feelings are triggered by this unconscious anxiety that flows throughout our family of origin system and through us as well. And so a part of the healing and recovery has to do with reducing that by detachment, neutrality, more calmness from our family of origin. Understand when it happens, how it happens, and also focusing on ourselves and not just flying on automatic, but we fly on manual. We use a manual approach, because if you fly on automatic, you're just going to do what you've always done, felt what you always felt, had negative thoughts that you've always had. You know, it's just going to be the same old if we go on automatic. Secondly, and I would recommend you watch till the end of the video for some help with some calmness. Though I really like, calmness is everything. I have some other videos on calmness or systems feelings. I would take a look at that. There's a good video on systems feelings versus true feelings. I think it's called True Feelings versus Systems Feelings is the name of the video. When we go no contact, let's say, with a narcissist or a narcissistic family or a narcissistic parent, it will be important that we reduce acute and chronic anxiety. That will help reduce us going back if we've decided to go no contact. It helps us to live more freely from our chronic and acute anxiety that got us into the narcissistic relationship in the first place. And I realize narcissists are manipulative and lie, and there's all kinds of things they're doing to get us into the relationship. And then we have our chronic anxiety and our functioning that also supports us into the relationship. Also, if we can reduce that chronic and acute anxiety, we can then develop a real self versus a reactive self that comes from that reactive super self that we were born into in our family of origin. And what happens is we can end up, kind of pretending or having a pseudo recovery or pretending to be mature. And when I think about no contact, there's mature no contact and then there's immature no contact. Mature no contact is, or let me talk about the immature no contact. The immature no contact is when we have cut off from the narcissist, maybe a good thing, because they may not be a good person to be in a relationship with, not a good dynamic for you. They may be abusive, etc. And so we cut off from them, but we're still experiencing lots of acute and chronic anxiety. A healthier, more mature cutoff, no contact, is when we are working through our acute anxiety and understanding our chronic anxiety from our family of origin and keeping it down and lower and working on our identifying how we function in emotional systems. And if we do that, then we have a much more durable no contact than what I would consider a non-durable no contact. Because if we have all this anxiety chronically and acutely, again, we're more likely to get caught back up in the system again. And we want a durable detachment. This occurs when we reduce our acute anxiety. And here's one of the immaturities about going no contact for some people. Oh, well, just go no contact. Well, okay. I mean, that may be a help because it may reduce acute anxiety, but it may not reduce chronic anxiety, which really fuels our functioning in our life. And to reduce that chronic anxiety, we want to learn how we function or functioned in our family of origin, seeing the hot potato of anxiety going around our family when we were growing up and even in present. We want to see how we operate. And many people don't see how they operate. They just operate. They don't see how they operate. And seeing is so important. Systems feelings are learned and imprinted. Again, we have this triggering of anxiety, then we feel shame, guilt, worthless, etc. And we have systems feelings from this chronic anxiety. Learning our immaturities. What are our immaturities? Learning self-acceptance and experiencing, not just learning, experiencing self-acceptance. And again, self-acceptance reduces acute and chronic anxiety, just like calmness reduces acute and chronic anxiety. It also reduces family of origin triggered feelings and thoughts, and in fact reduces intergenerational trauma in our cells, DNA, body memory, embryonic memory. There's a whole science around that in terms of how all of this stuff is transmitted to us biologically, psychologically, within our family. Thirdly, to keep systems anxiety out of the emotional field, we want to stay as close to calm as possible. To keep systems anxiety out of the emotional field, we want to reduce the power of the misery storm produced by the narcissist by working on detachment and reducing, absorbing the emotions and beliefs of the narcissist. And again, as our anxiety goes up, chronic and acute, we then tend to absorb the feelings, the beliefs of others, and particularly, say, in this case, a narcissist. Working on these skills allow us to think with more clarity, recognize we are separate from the narcissist, using the old tennis net approach, which I do, is I want to see this relationship like it is a tennis game. They're on one side of the net, I'm on the other side of the net. Neither of us jump over the other side of the net. If they are upset, that doesn't mean I have to be upset. If they believe one thing, it doesn't mean I have to believe that thing. They are them, I am me. We are different, and that's differentiation. We want to increase our self-empathy as well, which also helps us to reduce our anxiety. Increasing self-empathy, caring for self, thinking about self, seeing self as someone you want to nurture, take care of, and love. And then we will experience a more solid sense of self. Systems anxiety produces systems feelings, trigger us to do the most unhelpful dysfunctional patterns or behaviors. And it extends our family of origin or childhood patterns into our adult present. Triangles, pursuing and distancing, or avoidance and enmeshing, overfunctioning, underfunctioning for the self, peace-mongering, We hear warmongering. Somebody's just always trying to start war. Well, we're always trying to start peace. Well, we may need to focus on ourselves rather than just making everything okay for everyone and the system. Hustling for love and acceptance. Many ACONs, adult children of narcissists or spouses of narcissists or siblings, ask me, and they will ask me this question, and this may help you to understand. They'll unspokenly ask me this way: Jerry, while I'm at a 10 on a 10 scale of anxiety, and I feel reactive and overwhelmed with negative thoughts, what should I do? And what should I say? And how should I function in this way? And many times they ask out of that, I'm totally overwhelmed. I'm so anxious, I can't even see straight. Now, Jerry, tell me what to do. And the first thing I would say is, don't do anything. If you're at that level of anxiety, don't do anything, because whatever you do is probably going to ultimately make it worse. Ultimately, there may be a momentary calm, but ultimately it's probably not going to make it better, and you'll probably just be functioning in the same status quo. And my thought is, no matter what you say or do in this situation or in this high anxiety state, it will probably maintain the status quo. In very early recovery, ACONs will ask, well, in a high anxiety and flooded with systems feelings, how do I behave to change my parent or our relationship, say a spouse, for the better? And I'm going, no, you're already jumping to how to change the relationship. Let's work on reducing your anxiety first so you can function better and think better. And so many times it's kind of amazing if you can help someone stop, reflect, become aware, and see more dynamics going on and see more of the system that's happening. You often don't have to tell them what to do. They will then go, oh, this is what I need to do. The answer is already there. It's so overwhelmed with all of this anxiety. So if I can help them reduce the calmness about this and reduce their anxiety about this, they can come to a better decision. So what would I advise you do? I would advise you to read some books on self-differentiation. Go to my website and click contact on there, and write me for the list of self-differentiation books. And many of them will talk about this anxiety that we deal with, because I think anxiety is such a key for society, for relationships, and it's a way out. It's a better way of formulating the problems and better way out of the problems. I also, in working with clients, and we have me and my staff who work at Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. You can contact us to work with us directly. I think of the 4 P's: perceive, which is becoming self-aware, see how you function in this anxious situation, predict, how can we predict the responses of other people, and then practice our new responses given our new awareness, and then we are persistent and make the new behavior more of a habit. And it also brings the anxiety down in the system over time. Even like a statement simply as much as, I understand, but that's not how I see it. Or I understand what you're saying, but that's not how I see it. Even a simple differentiation statement like that can make a big difference. I want to remind you there's a workshop coming up this Saturday on July 17th of 21. 1 to 5. I hope you'll sign up using the link below. You can go to my website and look on events. I think the workshop's also on the front page of the website. I hope today was helpful to you. And I know sometimes it's difficult to teach these things, and maybe I'm a faulty vessel to communicate these things, but I hope there were a few things that I shared today that could be of help to you. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day, and be wise.
One. Hey, hi everyone. This is Jerry Wise, a life and relationship coach. And thank you for joining Jerry Wise Relationship Systems YouTube channel. I hope you'll subscribe and also join the membership, paid membership of $1.99 a month. I hope you'll click join and join us for that. Help support the videos, the free videos that you get. We are continuing with our principles of self-differentiation, and this is number 11, I believe. I am happily joined by Yitz Goldberg, who also works here and sees clients. And I thought I would have Yitz say hello and introduce the principle.
Hey everyone, good to be here again. Today we will be talking about principle number 11, which is learning to make peace with differences in yourself and others. And to me, this principle is about being okay, not only with similarities with others, but also with differences. And very often we are okay when it comes to other people and relationships when things are very similar and we have things in common, and we tend to not be okay or even lose ourselves when there are differences, and when especially when those differences are very, very clear and out there.
I made a note. Accepting differences is a means to accepting self. And certainly other people, we cannot control other people's thoughts, feelings, beliefs. And if we accept the differences between us, we then are able to more differentiate or detach ourselves by accepting their differences. And we begin to see more clearly where we end and others begin when we do that. So finding self with accepting differences is a way for us to find that self.
Yeah, and as humans, we have a lot of things that are common, right? Just from being human, and I even feel like that our culture expects us to find things that we are similar in, and try to find more similarities than being okay with differences. And there's a certain point of this work is learning to find those differences and be okay with them, because those differences are part of being human. It doesn't make you unhuman because you're different. That it's on the same
Right.
It's on the same coin. It's just two sides of the coin.
Right. And we have sameness and we have differentness. And in family systems theory, we have togetherness and we have separateness. We have individuation and we have connectedness. and we hold those two forces together. And that's a part of the human experience. It's actually a part of the whole biological experience of life, holding togetherness and separateness together. That's how life works, I believe, even on a cellular level, or even smaller than that.
And Edwin Friedman talks about that in his book Failure of Nerve. He goes deeper into that example of cells and how they are differentiated, and when they connect together, that's what creates cancer.
Right. When there's too much togetherness or fusion, then you have disease. And when you have a healthy balance of togetherness and separateness, you have a healthy life, healthy functioning life. When you have too much distance or separateness and no togetherness, then you don't have life. I think for many people who are in recovery, for many people who grew up in dysfunctional families and have struggled in their codependency or other kinds of problems that they've experienced. I know for me as a codependent, my existence was based on their beliefs and our sameness. And my existence was based on that. That's how important the sameness of beliefs and also feeling states, having mirrored feeling states was so important. I feel like you, you feel like me. I think like you think like me. And so differences were not valued. I think in my own religious past, there was a very strong pressure for sameness. We all should think and feel the same way. We should have a group think, and differences were not very well accepted. If you did not hold the party line or hold the company line, and that there was a great value in sameness, and even the feeling that my existence is based on same beliefs, same feelings, sameness, thinking alike, feeling alike, and not valuing the differences. And that if I'm me, if I'm self-aware, self-defined, and self-regulated, I'm going to be different from other people. And that's a good thing. And that's a good thing. Like you say, it's the human thing.
And if someone else is going to be self, they will be different for me.
Right. They will be different. And we can have difference while also being connected. Though for many people, it is hard for them to connect with someone who is different from them. Because again, our existence or my existence was based on sameness. So if you're not same like me, then I need to exclude you, or we're not going to gel. We're not going to connect because we're not the same. And that is a problem and can be a problem because we are unique. We may have some common beliefs. We may even have some common feelings about different things, but I am still going to be a unique individual. And I won't believe everything everybody believes. I won't feel the way everybody feels. And can we still be connected? But accepting those differences is, I think, a part of maturity and growing up. That not everybody is me. And that's what I was looking for when I was younger.
And differences have, it has many forms, differences. It could be strengths that you or the other have. It could be weaknesses or limitations that you or the other have. And I can go even deeper with this, that accepting differences means accepting others' strengths without feeling inferior, meaning you don't feel less than the other person just because they have a strength, or you don't feel more than the other person just because you have a certain strength. You don't feel guilt for having a strength because you're allowed to have that strength, and you're allowed to be different than the other person in this way. And it's understanding that when a lot of times feeling those feelings is because of the differences between ourselves and the other person. And very often when we feel those feelings, it's because we're not understanding this principle. We're not remembering this principle that
Right.
their difference means nothing about my difference, and my difference means nothing about their difference.
Right. Well, and I think that's where the therapeutic value comes in, and how it can be helpful in that they can be different and think different. I can be me and think differently, so that if they have a negative view of me, I'm letting them have that negative view of me, but I'm not absorbing it. And we don't have to think alike. I don't think that I am bad or stupid or worthless, or, you may think that. That's your thoughts. And so it gives me a greater amount of detachment and neutrality, because I accept that their differences can be ludicrous. I mean, they can be ridiculous, in dysfunctional families. And those are their beliefs for whatever reasons, and there could be many reasons, but they're not my beliefs. And so they are different from me. And so I don't have to absorb that. I can observe those differences rather than absorb them.
Yeah.
And the health of I am not you and you are not me notion, which I think is a helpful thing to be aware of, a helpful notion to have with other people. I'm not you and you're not me. And we don't have to be, that's even because my beliefs early on in my life were we have to be, we just do. And you have to like me, you have to agree with me. I shouldn't talk or be with people who don't think and feel the same way I do. And so we surround ourselves, particularly as codependents, with people who we can more mesh with, and we see a lot more sameness. But then that causes problems, because then that stifles the real self. And then we hide, then we keep secrets, then we lie, then we have those kinds of difficulties with that sameness that's needed for us all to feel comfortable. And differences are a big thing. And I think that's a part of maturing and getting older, that you begin to realize, people think differently than I do, and they will. And is that okay? And is okay to think what I think and believe what I believe, and principles, values, morals, beliefs. Is it okay that I am not the same?
Yeah.
And
I've learned on myself from the work I've done on myself that over functioning or being a hero is not respecting other people's differences. When you try to change someone, you are not respecting the difference between you and the other person. When you're trying to fix them, when you're trying to fix a situation, it is not honoring this simple principle of there are differences, and it's okay that there are differences, and can you relate despite the differences, and what is required from you, what type of self-regulation do you need to do, or self-definition do you need to do, um, when this difference exists.
Right. And I think that's where, if someone thinks harshly, meanly, badly about me, if I accept their differences, it doesn't mean I will stay in for the abuse. It means I now have to make choices as to how I'm going to relate to this person. I can't change them, and probably have tried to for many times, for a long time, but I can't change them. Now, what do I do to position myself with them that has the least toxic effect? So I'm accepting their differences, but I'm adjusting myself to that reality. And then we care for ourselves more. There's better self protection, there's better self choices when we accept the differences of others. Um, I was also going to mention that the not only are there differences in beliefs, but there can be differences in how we react and feel toward things. If you really want to get a reaction from someone, feel differently than they feel. I remember, like with mom always wanted me to come and visit her more often at the nursing home. Well, I visited about once a week, spend a couple hours. I would do that. And then occasionally I would do things during the week if she needed to go to a doctor's appointment or different things like that. But that was about the pace that I could do, and that I was working and so when someone would come to me and say, I was talking to your mom and she sure would like to see you more, and I can just tell she wants you to come visit her more frequently. I go, oh, really? Yeah, she's mentioned that to me before. Well, don't you feel like you should honor your father and mother, and you should go and visit her more? And I go, no, I feel pretty neutral about that. Now, what reaction are you going to get from somebody else? Because their guilt or their neediness or their obligations or their beliefs are quite different. That if my sainted mother tells them that she'd like to see me more often, they feel I should be empathetic or compassionate more with mom and go and see her more, and that my compassion and my feelings would be different. I'm much more neutral about that. They don't like my neutrality. They see that as a bad thing. And now I'm different in terms of my neutrality. That no, that's just about the frequency that I would like to do, and that feels comfortable for me, and I want to stay connected with my mother, but I don't want to talk to her for 3 hours every day and go visit her. I'm not going to do that. I also knew she had friends, she had she had calls, and and then there were other residents, and I mean, it wasn't like she was just totally all alone. But even if she was totally all alone, if I'm working and if it's hard, I can't just quit my job and go take care of mom's emotional needs. I just can't do it. But to be okay with that is having a difference of emotional response that people may not like and may not accept.
Yeah, and Jerry, you've mentioned the word reactive, and reactivity in a way is lack of being okay with difference. Because if you are okay with difference, then why would you be reactive to the other person?
Right.
It's exactly what you're saying right now. I'm okay with being neutral, so I don't need to be reactive.
I don't have to go, well, I wish mom wouldn't talk to you about what I should be doing to visit her. Why is she telling you that? I could get reactive, but if I'm okay with my position or I have neutrality, I don't have to react to them. and say, thank you for caring about mom, but I'll be fine doing what I'm doing right now. Mom will be fine. She may not have everything she wants, but I don't have everything I want either. I mean, that's kind of life. I mean, I wish I could have everything I wanted.
Yeah.
That'd be great. And
Yeah.
but I think you're right. Accepting those differences and being okay then reduces the reactivity. I like that point where we talked about uh, others can believe what they choose, but I then must act accordingly. And oftentimes we don't want to act accordingly. We don't like the options of acting accordingly because that may mean boundaries. It may mean loss of part of the relationship. It may mean loss of finances. It may mean a lot of things. And if we accept what they believe and where they're at, just like if someone believes I'm greedy and cannot manage money, and then a parent decides to give me less inheritance because I would misuse it. Well, I may not be greedy and I may not have financial irresponsibility. But if that's what they believe, that could have an impact on how it affects me. And so do I spend the rest of my life trying to prove to them that I'm deserving of that inheritance? Well, if you decided I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove that and change them, well, that could mean a loss of inheritance because of their beliefs. So, but how am I going to act accordingly to their beliefs? And I found one of the best ways to change a belief in others is to not be reactive to it. That's it. It's because oftentimes it's counterintuitive. It surprises them. In other words, them having that belief is totally on them to have, and they have to take responsibility for that belief. I'm not going to do things in a reactive way or whatever to enhance that belief or try to defend myself out of that belief. Because oftentimes defending means you're probably already lost. Anyway, so why do I want to defend myself? Oftentimes they've come to those beliefs for other reasons. And me defending myself doesn't fix it. No, I'm not financially responsible. Let me show you all of my past finances. No, I'm not greedy. Let me show you all the ways in which I've given to other people. How much would that truly work? Because often the belief has come from an irrational position or an emotional position or a systems role position that it's not about the logic of it. So me giving you all the financial documents is probably not going to change anything about what you believe about me. And so I want to accept. However, accepting that's what they believe could possibly do more to dislodge them from that position in a systems way. But we don't do that to change them. But I'm just saying that can be a secondary or a byproduct.
Right. That's an important point because this is not about forcing differences. It's about respecting differences, and forcing differences is not respecting differences.
Right. And even if those differences are illogical or irrational, we can still respect them, but then we have to act or choose accordingly how we're going to interact with them. But that's called being an adult. I mean, that's what we do. I can't change others' irrational beliefs. So I respect that. Those are their beliefs. I don't believe them to be true at all, but that's my belief. Now, what am I going to do?
and that and so when the parent decides, okay, I want you all to know what's in my will, and Jerry, I'm not going to leave anything for you. We're all going to meet Saturday at the lawyer's office. I can decide whether I'm going to go or not. If there's nothing for me or nothing of, why am I going to go? Just to feel, or to be shamed or to be whatever. I mean, I can decide, well, if that's what you believe, then that's what you believe, and I don't see any good reason for me to be there. You're free to do with your money what you want to do. But I don't have to go, or I don't have to go to try to beg you to give me some inheritance, or, I'm not going to do that. And so I can decide that in a calm, matter-of-fact way.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that the feeling of difference, sometimes it could feel very liberating, and sometimes it could be the scariest feeling on earth. And that's important to remember, because these both of these emotions will come up the more you differentiate and the more you find differences. And there are certain moments that the differences become scary, because you understand you are truly alone. Not that you weren't alone up until now. You were alone,
right,
you just didn't know you're alone.
Didn't know it. Right.
And when you experience the difference, when you really see where you end and the other person starts, it could get scary.
It's profound, right? And you're right. I am the person that I have, and what boils down to is me. And that's why I like Margaret Paul's work on inner bonding, where we're bonding with ourselves and how important that is. But we really must do that, because really the only person you have is you. And that becomes more aware in a very stark way when you start thinking about these differences, because this is my belief, and I'm not going to get a vote of a majority positive for what I'm believing or what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling.
And I don't need that vote. That's where the real difference comes in. I don't need that vote.
And that does show how much you are standing alone. And I think there are other people who would be supportive of us, and there are other people we connect with, but we do have to learn to stand alone. And I think that's a part of maturity, is learning to stand alone. Well, we have come to the end of our time. Any other comments you want to make, Yitz, about this?
This was a good conversation. I really enjoyed these series. We could seriously go on forever, and we might go on forever. Who knows?
Right.
But this principle is the essence of self-differentiation work. It's learning to be different. It's learning to respect differences, and it's being okay with the tension of difference. So this is the work.
Good words. This is principle 11, like making peace with differences. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join our membership for a paid $1.99 membership under Join. I want to thank Yitz Goldberg for joining me today on doing this series, also on principles of self-differentiation. We're going to continue on with this. And if you'd like to work with either one of us, you can check with the website that's listed below, and you can make an appointment. You can go to the website and see things that will be coming up. I appreciate you all of you being there and listening to us today. Thank you, Yitz.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully see you in the next principle.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and be wise.